All right. So we're going to go through quickly how to add a lockbox and assign it to your listing. And what that does is it allows you to track the showings very easy. Here we go. So I'm going to share my screen. There you go. You should be able to see my screen. Jeff, can you see it?
Yep.
Awesome. So go away. All right. So if you go to change listing, you find whichever one you want to do it on. I'm going to show you, we already have ours assigned, but I'll show you how you would do it. So you go to the listing, you go to Supra functions right here. And then where it says serial number, you're going to punch in the 8-digit serial code that's on the side of each lockbox you have. And then you'll put in the shackle code and then hit assign. And once you've done that, every time you open it, it won't show it here, even if it's assigned. Like you can see mine's assigned already, but it doesn't show it here. So to make sure it worked, you go to activity and bang, it shows you everybody that's opened it. If the assigning didn't work, it would have said error. There's no lockbox assigned. But since there is one assigned, it shows all the pops. So you can see the date it was opened. You can see who it was. You can see their phone number. You can see who they're with. So that's a really easy way, especially if I'm on the phone with a seller and I'm about to call them for a price reduction. And I just got to know exactly real quick how many showings there's been. It will include this. This is anybody that's popped the lockbox. So, I mean, you can see some of our agents in there because those are open houses. So real quick, I usually count through it and just minus it out if it's one of the open houses. But that's a quick way to know how many showings you've had. So you want to...
I don't think do we send out, or do you guys send out a form afterwards when someone shows the house or something like that?
Yeah. So for all of our showings, we used to use Showing Suite, which was a third-party website that you would assign the lockbox in, and that was great because it sends out the feedback, it keeps the seller updated. Anytime somebody opened the lockbox, anytime anybody replied with feedback, it would alert the seller. And then what happened, and you could even, the best part was you could do blast emails for a property. You could go into a property, say, I want to blast all the emails, all the showing agents, and it'll import them all. And then you can email them and say, hey, we did a price reduction, or hey, this just went under contract. Let me know if you want to submit a backup, and hit go. And it automatically would send a blast email out to everybody that showed it. There's no more, as far as I know, Showing Time can't do that. So Showing Time bought Showing Suite and shut them down. So now the only people we can use is Showing Time, other than there's other third-party websites that cost money. So this one's not bad. So this is Showing Time. This is included and provided by Armless. And if you go to listing setup, you can see all your listings right here. So if we just click on this one, for example, it'll show Jeff. Oops. Go away. It'll show the agent, it'll show who the co-listing agent is, and you can check these boxes to see if you want to get a text alert for showings, an email alert for showings, or a phone call. So you can change all that right here per listing. And then down here is where you can add showing restrictions. If there's a day that's blocked out, let's say there's work being done and nobody can see it on Saturday, for example, or let's say it's someone that works from home Monday through Wednesday, so there's no showings ever on those days. You would add a new showing restriction right here, and you would choose what days you want it to be blocked out, and then you could say repeat, and then no matter when someone tries to schedule a showing, those days will be blocked out in Showing Time, which is really helpful if maybe you're not doing any showings until the weekend, to just go in there and block it out. That way you don't get a ton of people calling and doing submissions and then you got to decline them or try to reschedule them. But then also it does send feedback as well. So you see feedback right here. You can change what type of feedback questions you want it to ask. There's our questions. Is your client considering making an offer? If no, why not? Buyer's response to the property and location. What is something that can be done to raise the appeal and value of this home? What was the home in perfect showing condition? If no, please explain why. Will you be scheduling a second showing? So those are the questions. and then they fill them in. I mean, I'd say probably 40% of the agents actually answer the feedback requests. And you can have it set up to when you get the response for a showing, you can have it come to you first, and then you can say, I want to send to the seller.
Okay.
Or you can have it set up to just automatically alert the seller. I generally, when we don't have too many listings and it's easy for me to manage it, I generally want the feedback to come to me first, just in case they say something that the seller shouldn't hear. Like, I tried calling your office 100 times, no one even answered me. Like, I don't want the seller to see that because obviously it's not true.
Yeah.
But I have it come to my email first, and then there's just a quick little button. You say publish to seller, and bang, it goes right to the seller. But you do have to make sure you have the seller assigned to the listing in this system, which is very easy to do. But yeah, if you ever have any questions with it or need me to help you set one up, I could definitely help you with that. And
Yeah,
this is
I'm
also-
pretty good at showing time. I hadn't done where I'd set it up the box. And can you go directly? How do you jump to it? I saw how you set it up. You go to your change listings, but is there an easier way to see it directly from the actual listing?
The feedback?
Yeah, the feedback.
No, you have to open showing time.
No, I no, to see who's gone in, who's viewed the property. I'm meaning. Or
Sorry,
do you just go to change listing to see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So you go to change listing. You click on the listing,
Okay.
go to Supra functions, and then activity.
Okay.
And that gives you the list of people that have opened your lockbox. There's
Got it.
another way to do it. There's showing time. Let's see, showing.
But I
there's
know
also
showing time, unfortunately, is going away sometime later this year.
I would assume that they're going to replace it with something else.
Yeah, it's being replaced with the product that was bought by the MLS. I'm trying to think what it's called.
Yeah.
Showing time's going away?
Yeah, because the MLS procedures are that no brokerage can own a product that AR MLS uses. So they're replacing it because Zillow bought showing time.
Interesting.
Who is Eileen? I can hear her. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear. I just got off of a phone call, so I popped in a little late.
Yeah, so showing time, when it was purchased by Zillow, made a big mucky muck because essentially they're a competitor now. Because showing time was not a competitor, it was just a resource to all the agents. So I mean, a competitor for online leads and stuff like that. They don't sell houses, but essentially their agents sell houses, and you understand the relationship. So then they needed to create a different product. But I mean, the reality is we're going to see lots of changes because I think that,
Yeah, monsoon's going away too.
in 5, yeah, right. Like the thing is that the real estate technology is so far behind the world of technology that we can make what we think is a momentous leap forward and still actually not catch up, which is sad that we're that far behind, but that's what we have to do. So we're going to see, it'll be interesting depending on what the world goes. I mean, if they keep raising interest rates, real estate's not going to make money. So I don't know where the money's going to come from for all of the plans. But it's ultimately, because I haven't talked about this for a while in the other class, but the pending DOJ versus NAR litigation is trying to be worked out, but that will also have a huge effect, meaning they're trying to move the commission structure out of MLS, essentially. I mean, because it's non-transparent and what it is right now, those kinds of things. But I mean, I don't honestly know how it's going to go because it's hard to read the tea leaves of what.
The judge dismissed it. He said,
Yeah, but
I know they'll bring
okay,
it back probably.
all right. Well, no, well, here's the thing, Jeff, I use the words the judge punted.
Yeah.
Because there's an impending litigation, 2 major lawsuits. So a Supreme Court or the DOJ, they're not gonna make themselves look bad when the court system's gonna process something so impactful because they're going after the major brokerages, meaning however because I don't know if it's a jury court in, is it in Missouri or Kansas? Where the original thing was filed, the Siltzer lawsuit and I mean, there's 7 of them. They combine them and it's a full-time job to keep up with the whole
Yeah.
iterations, but because that's the public suing the realtor, right? So then it will just come out in that court case. So whatever's decided, but that I don't know how it's gonna get decided. I don't think it's a judge. I think it might be a jury that's gonna decide whether the world thinks it's okay for the buyer's commission to be paid by the seller, right? Or should it be more transparent? I mean, that's the whole issue. I am actually, I don't talk about it publicly, but I think it should be separate. I am for them separating it because I think we're elite agents here at the CBOC team, and the elite agents will be able to adjust, meaning that I know we're going to be able to adjust to a world without commission better than everybody else. So even though it's super scary, it will take the realtor population and cut it by, I think, 70%. And that will leave those that still remain agents a lot easier to get business because there's just not as many people out there, right? Like, because they can't negotiate a commission. So I think it will actually, in the long haul, be a swing for positivity and push our industry towards the real professionals of the industry is where my ultimate opinion lies. Because then we will charge what we can charge, but because, I think maybe we end up with 1.5% or 2%, but then you're just working on business that works out, right? Because imagine if, 1 out of 3 people you talk to at an open house, you ended up with, right? Instead of working to get work, which is what we do most of the time, is we work on prospecting, and this class is working about how we get listings. And, it's the amount of wasted time of us. Because when you think about how much time we are writing contracts and then executing escrows is not that much, right? If you sell 100 houses a year, maybe you spend about 4 hours per house negotiating, and that's only enough time for 2 weeks in a year, right? It's just, or maybe 4 weeks in a year, whatever it is. But my point is we spend the majority of our time not actually doing what we do, which is write contracts and sell houses, which would be, so we'll make less, but I think we'll have more of them. And then, that's where the team will become bigger, because everybody's going to need a team, because you're going to need people working for you to handle a lot of details. And then there'll be one main salesperson. And that's why we're moving to helping people, what I call a team in a box, because I think it just makes logical sense to me. So I would love to hear questions, comments, and thank you for all being great listeners out there today. Comments, questions?
I heard with that, obviously the hard part would be that buyers, their buying power could be an issue if it's not built into the loan. But there was
Okay, see, this is the challenge, and I'm only cutting you off because that first statement it has a built-in assumption. What did you say?
Buyers buying power because they're not.
Okay, right, buyers buying power. See, it's a shit show, that the world of real estate, because the lender's already paying for the commission in the deal. Right? Are they not?
Yeah.
Now we're just going to include it on the buy side. It's not very hard. They've been paying 6% on every house that a lender writes a loan, right? Like, you with me?
Yeah.
So you're telling me if I say, okay, well, now it's gonna be 4.5%, they're gonna care?
Right.
No, it's just that the whole system is set up on the old way. So they're telling you, well, the lender will never pay. Oh, you don't want to change. I get that, right? Like, that's just somebody that doesn't think of. I think of solutions in holistic solutions. The lenders, every loan that's written includes a commission, does it not?
For sure.
Like, why can't the lobbyist from the head lobbyist from the NAR go to the head lobbyist for the lenders and go, hey, now we're just gonna write it in on page 8 that the buyer's commission is this, and you're gonna include it the loan, and they're gonna go, great, cool, what's it gonna be? Is it gonna be more than 3% for the buyer? No, actually, it's gonna be 2.25, 2.5, or 2, whatever. As long as it doesn't go up, the lender's gonna be glad. All of the comps that are sold outside of wholesalers have commission in them. So that anybody that's saying, because that's where I hear all of the rhetoric on everybody of the, and that's just poppycock is what we used to call that in Pennsylvania, poppycock. You're just fucking saying that out loud because you only benefit. Like, you don't know how, like, this is better. It's like people used to debate whether the internet was good.
I've seen clips of that just like a week ago,
Crazy.
where they're like trying to figure out what the @ sign meant.
Yeah.
They thought it was about or something. Yeah. They're like, I don't think this is a fad. It's not gonna be here much.
Email is just not gonna work out there. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna send to somebody an electronic message into the sky and they're gonna respond? Well, who the hell is gonna do that? Like, we can find people to say anything, but then they start believing their poppycock. So sorry, more comments. Great question. Now you can finish your comment.
Well, I heard the other argument of getting rid of dual agency.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Oh, this is my dual agency is my single most favorite lie in real estate. What they're saying is we can't live without the brokers cannot live without the guaranteed commission shared. The whole real estate, I don't know how to say the whole industry, like Inman, like the whole real estate world is based on a 3% commission because the brokers get the guaranteed commission, the referrals from state to state. Like, when a buyer finds out that you're getting paid for referring them to the other side, that they got to pay the commission, because like, if the buyer really knew that the reload company gets 43% and the like if they knew of all the agreements that we have made with that money, it's why the commission ultimately is going to fall, because it's going to cut out. Those people are going to have to find different jobs. They want to, because they know that the real estate world's going to look, meaning the realtors and the brokers are going to look massively different if that changes, because let me say it this way, 70, 80% of people get paid from the existing system that are actually just a piece of the, a pie, right? Like Zillow getting 35% right now. Well, when the buyer's paying the commission and because you're going to then say, well, I got to pay Zillow this. They're like, well, I don't want to pay Zillow. Right? Like, I think it's going to change right? Like, to me, the buyer's like, I'll tell you what, I will pay you 2%. And if you're going to pay, now you're going to pay 35% out of it, we're going to go back to Zillow and say, look at it, it's got to be 20%. If we're only getting 2, now we're only getting 2, we can't pay you 35% of our fee. But also because then the whole lead process, I mean, it's just, there's so many things that are dependent on other things, and I don't know how, I mean, there's just so many, it's just a big mess. More comments, thank you though. Anyone have any questions, comments? I mean, I know it's not in the next 2 years. I mean, showing time, we're gonna have a new, what is it?
I don't know the placement, but yeah, there is no one coming.
But I mean, to me, those are just tools of the trade, and it is what it is in discussion, and we gotta use them, and
Fairly comparable.
right. So did anyone have, all right, so we'll work backwards. We're gonna talk about anyone that has a listing that has questions, and then we're gonna go to anyone that has had a listing appointment, then we're gonna go to chasing leads. You tell me, is there anyone out there that has a listing that wants to share or talk about a price reduction, or they got a listing coming up? Remember, please, I've been counseling agents on listings, so it's, I'm available for you at any time. You got a listing, please, let's have a half-hour discussion just so we can have, because the main thing is, there's a chart that I haven't showed you in the class, because I'm trying to not go outside the thing, but there's a chart that shows you from Crawford that I want to show you guys in this class that's helpful in helping you understand how much other agents lie about the value of the house to get the commission. I'm going to show you a chart that proves my point. Are you ready? This is just, I just love when the world like displays what I know is true, that people pretend that it doesn't exist, and that's that agents lie to get listings. Where's that?
Up there, yeah.
We'll look at this, but all right, here's the. Okay, the top line is the listing price. The underneath line is the, oh yeah, the green line is the under contract list price. If you can see, it has risen, right? Meanwhile, the closed list price is brown, and then the red list price is actual list price, meaning what actually the house sold for. Meaning the top line is what the house is listed at when it goes under contract. And right now it's close to 300 a square foot. Now, of course, in December, it was 295. And since prices are going down, you would think that that number would go down, but it went up. That's my point. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me show it to you this way. I'll add a different line. Average list price per square foot. See that blue line? Those are the listed houses prices. Can you see that? The top one. The green one is under contract here, and then the brown one, closed list price, and then the actual price. That's amazing to me. Here, look at that, Cody. Come over here, Adam, and look at that. We're going to talk about that.
And the blue price was, what was it again, the top one?
It's 345 is the active list price average of the houses listed in MLS. It's gone up since December from 320 to 345. Now, mind you, I'm now going to show you, right? That shows you that they're lying to list houses, meaning what that is to you in this class means that we have to be higher, right? Like if you have a listing, the last two people, I'm like, when you're competing, you have to be like ridiculously high to a price that like, or you're not gonna win. Now, why it works when you know the person is you can just be honest with them, because that's flat out lying, in my opinion. That like, no, you can get higher. You can like, huh? On the same chart, the actual the average sales price went from 290 to 270, while the average list price, meaning the average close price, went down by $20 a square foot, but the average price of listings went up by $40. Like, you guys are just fucking lying. Not you guys. Not you guys. You guys are honest. You know it. I know. I talk to you. You guys are lower. And this is why I'm telling you, and this is what I learned in 2015 when I was losing a lot. I mean, when I started speaking, I told people I had 158 listing appointments and we only listed 56 houses. Somebody in the artist said, wow, you suck. That's not good, they would say. I had to stop saying it. That was the truth. Because I counted by the Russell Shaw method, and that is every time I go in a house, if I go in it 3 times, that's three appointments, because I didn't win the first 2. And the third time I went in, I got the contract signed, that counts as a win. Oh, I was losing because I was being honest with people. Sorry, but I was coming in. My problem was I was coming in at 285 and the other people were coming in at 345. But think about that. If you're selling a house and someone says, I think you can get 850. And then I come in and I'm like, you're going to struggle to get 760. I look like the fucking idiot. Right? And that's why I don't want to say you have to lie, but you have to be on their wavelength, and why we have to say the higher number is, and that's where I started created the perfect buyer. Because really, there was a house in Greyhawk in 2007. The market was starting to cascade downward, 2008. And I had listing opportunity, and the people were from Kansas City, and my buddy from Kansas City, and it was like I was referred in. It was what I thought was a lock. The house was 2,800 square feet and a 4,000 square foot house, and it wasn't on the golf course. It was in the center subdivision on the Raptor side. I can't think of what that subdivision is. It's I gotta think of who the builder is there. But anyway, they have a couple on the golf course there. It wasn't on the golf course, but it was in the center, and it didn't back to any houses. But it was like 2,600 square feet, and most of the houses are larger. It's the only small floor plan. It sold for $100,000 over the highest sale at the time. It was a cash sale, and the woman wanted open space and didn't care, and her husband had more money than God. The guy was worth like 300 million, and she says, I want to buy it, fix it up. And it was listed at $995, and I didn't think it was going to, or I mean, it was 150 more than I would even list it for. And of course it sold. Now that was the only one that I remembered out of 3,000 houses that happened. But it happens like once every 1,000 houses, where a rich person, right, sends his girlfriend out to fucking buy a house, and she says, I like this one. And she's like, honey, I don't want to lose it. And he writes the full check for it. And unfortunately that shit happens. But I don't base my whole career on telling people that that's going to happen to them is all. So that's where I came up with the perfect buyer, because not just the perfect buyer, but any perfect buyer, which is someone that will pay you up to 150,000 more than your house is. Like, those are out there. It could happen. And in this environment, it could happen more. And that's what the people have. That's let me say it this way. I knew Chris Karras before he was. I knew Chris Karras when he was sold less than 6 million in a year. Right? So he wasn't, So
Who's Chris Karras?
he netted, when I went to see him in 2021, his group did 240 million, but he only sold 78 houses. So yeah. The Karras Group, it's Karas, Chris is his first name. I mean, dude does the best job in real estate because he makes $1.5 million to 2 million a year. It's just that his phone rings constantly at night. And that's what I don't want. Meaning you can make, because the wealthy people, when their house doesn't sell, want to call you and talk to you about why their house is selling after 8 p.m. and before 8 a.m. And if you don't pick up their phone, you won't last in the luxury market. But if you serve that basis and you do anything, like when you talk to, what's his name? Anyway, but when you meet with these guys, they're good guys and everything like that, but they're just, I know they're lying to the people because you can see the house. Like Walt Danley, when I was competing against him and I can continue this, I can stop this. Sorry. Is this interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. So Walt Danley was the #1 agent in 2005. They did 171 million that year. I did 18 million. He did 171. He did 10 times me. And their method for winning listings is no matter what it canceled at, when they got a cancel listing, they would list it for 20% more than do you think they won a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because he was, had his name in every magazine, and the way that they would list it is just, they would list it at whatever the person wanted to. And then eventually people would make offers and stuff because rich people, price isn't an issue. And because the reason I was picking on Chris Karras, because in 2017, he sold 23% of his listings. Is that good? Could you imagine being like that? Like, I just can't do that, right? Like, you mean 77% of the people you talk to, their house didn't sell? Yeah, I listed it at any price, right? Like, that's what we're competing against a lot. Is the bash, and then but we will sell it for more, and then they get a listing and then they move on. The goal is just to have lots of listings, and some of them will sell and I won't deal with it, and someone else will deal with it, and that's just the way the game's played. Fun.
But this is why you came up with the 3 listing prices, right? The non-competitive to deal with this.
No, it's why I went to talk to other lead agents, because I was, this is 2013. So I was, because, you're up to figure out this puzzle, and it was just easier for me because at the time Cromford wasn't out yet, and I could just go into MLS and pull queries on people, and I would save them because I just had that. That's just who I am. And I was like, because I thought we should sell 80 to 90% of the houses we list. I thought that would be, that's what we do, right? Like, because then I know I'm at least, I want to be direct with people and not, but they just don't want you to undersell them. That's the thing. What was the point? You said something, Jeff. Say it again.
Well, that's why you came. I was going to say, to solve this problem is the 3 prices you give, including the non-competitive.
No, yeah, it was the beginning when I started losing a lot in 13, 14. It wasn't until I realized, but we didn't. Yeah. So the meeting it came from was in 2013. I didn't know I needed it when he said it, Jeff, because I listed 26 houses in 2013. I thought I was good, right? Like I was happy. So I wasn't thinking, I was just looking at, I had 26 listings, and in 14, I had 45 listings, and then I had 56 listings. And I was just happy because my listings per year was rising. And that was all I was trying to get better. And I was listening. But so in 2013, Kenny Kloss said that, Jeff, the 3 prices, because he said, and he said it in a meeting, and we were sitting at this big table. He was up against the wall over there. And Kenny Kloss is talking, and he had just done 20 million in 2006, and I was like, word, right? Like I was still only at the time in 2013 doing 40 or 50. 2013 we did 50 million. I was still looking up at Kenny, and I was like, so when he came out with that, I took great notes, and I was like, we should do that. And then I took notes, and then I took notes, and then I took notes, and I took notes. And then it wasn't until that guy in the meeting in 2015 or 16, we were speaking where they were criticizing me. And that's when I was like, oh, that's why Kenny had the 3 prices. Like logically, I was like, where the fuck is that note? Right? Like I was searching through my notes to try and find it. And thankfully I took good notes, and I had those 3 words written out. I was like, he's like, the first price is for them. The second price is for me, and the one in the middle is just because the people like to have options. But Keller Williams taught him that style of strategy, because brokers used to educate people on stuff, right? Like what happened is Kenny was a part of Gary Keller's top 5. Right? So Gary Keller had 5 agents that he would work with, and he got it from there, or from another elite agent that goes to that. Yeah. Fun. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, it's especially in a declining marketplace, right? Where, because what list prices, I'll show you here. Whew. The question is, let me just conclude that when you're competing at any level, that's why the non-competitive price is meant to be as high as you need it, not really the range, right? Like what number is someone else going to say? You just want to make sure that when you're in listings that your top number is higher than their top number when they're throwing it out there. That's it. You did like it. And then your bottom number needs to be low enough to be aggressive, meaning you never want the house to not sell and you get that you have to go lower than the number you told them, meaning the range width could be $1 million, $2 million. I don't care. That's not the point of it. The point is that it's the point of the low price, meaning the aggressive price, is that at the 30 to 50 day mark, you can then look at it and go, I told you. Because what happens is we haven't gotten there yet, but Adam and I in 2017, 18, and 19, what were we working on, Adam? We were working on complaint reduction. Complaint reduction videos. We created 10 what I call complaint reduction videos because the sellers were fucking running over Adam. Oh, dude, they just don't give a fuck. They just will pour over you. They will blame you for everything. And I was trying to be like, because I know what's going to happen before it happens. Right? Like we know the comps and all this stuff. And I'm just trying to get them to calm down. We'll try and get as much as you want, but we have to adjust quickly because we know the stats that support us. And now because the stats are better and, now because everybody leans into Zillow and now they, the Zillow has the chart is what was very helpful because we didn't use the chart like because you can see the traffic starting to decline. You can see the views and the likes, which is nice. And that's true user feedback. We just have to convince the people that it's real.
Did the complaint reduction videos help?
Yes. The sending the recorded video. And thank you for taking notes, Jeff. I mean, if we didn't have personal conversation last night, I feel like you'd be trying to steal my stuff, but I know that that's not what you're doing. So thank you. right? But really, it's just the whole idea why I created the video, the record, the thing is to say, I heard you. I heard you. Because people would always, because I talk too much, people would say in the listening appointment, you didn't hear me. And I'm like, no, I'm talking the whole time. I do hear you. Like, I can't stop fucking talking once I get going, and I don't mean to keep talking, but it, it doesn't mean I'm not listening, because I can actually, my ears don't block when the words come out of my mouth, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can still hear you when I talk, and people, but obviously people get offended, so I'm trying to change that. Right, because the other thing that Kenny Claus said was pros and cons. Right, 50 pros and like 3 or 4 cons is what the way they want to hear it, right? Like the idea is the feature sheet that I went in is because I always wanted to give them in writing that I listened. That's all. Because people like to know, they want to be heard, especially about their house. But they don't want you to pick on their baby, right? Like, you got to be nice, but that's what that sheet is. And then I actually put the marketing below. When I send that every single time, Jenny was putting the marketing, what we do, because I stopped talking about the I used to talk about the marketing in the listing appointment because they would be 2 hours. But they always asked later on, and I would like to tell them, I listed out my marketing, but unfortunately they don't know what it means. And what I learned about the marketing is they don't care. They just, like, basically, if you don't get an offer, they don't believe you. And we weren't getting offers. In tough markets, houses list and don't get offers. But they're listing high and they're not getting offers, and then they don't want to come down. So, yeah, good question.
So you're saying just by putting the marketing in the note that you send them, you can then go back and point to, hey, this is what we're doing?
Well, what it is, Jeff, is when you're talking to them, while you look it up, because you're going to have to read it off of a document, you want them to also be able to read it. Because when you're telling someone about our pay-per-click advertising, and her name is Sally, and she's 62, and she wasn't born with a phone in her hand, she glazes over so quickly, I can't even talk to her about it because she doesn't even fucking understand the internet. So when I said internet, they said internet. They're like, okay, you both do the internet. What else do you do? I'm like, honey, we can't talk about the internet like you both do the internet. Like, can you imagine that actually people in this, like women, like men, fucking, they do the internet too, was the feedback. I was like, so, sir, do you use the internet? Not really. Okay, good. All right. Well, that's just like, I might as well not explain it then, because no matter how hard I explain it, that person's never going to understand it. That's when I stop talking about marketing, because that's why I wanted to give it to them in writing, Jeff. Because when they ask, because some people, they're like, well, we haven't gotten any offers. What are you doing? And that's when I came up with, we go with the 5-pronged effect because it was easier. Meaning, I think of it like the US military. I'm just trying to give you the framework, but how does the US military? We got the land people, we got the Army, we got the Navy people, that's the boat people, we got the Air Force, and then we got the elite Marines, and then we got the Special Forces, right? Like, the idea is, I need realtor advertising, that's one, and that's MLS and the realtor tour, like the whole idea that I'm going to market to the realtors, and then I'm going to market online, and then I'm going to have paper marketing at the time, meaning in-house paper marketing, meaning the feature sheet, but also then maybe dropping off flyers to the neighborhood, but just some kind of print advertising. When I had the newsletter and at Greyhawk, that was my print advertising. Because people think all advertising for realtors is the same. Do you guys understand that?
Yeah.
Right, like when 72 Sold has a TV commercial, how many buyers then went to look for houses on their sites? None. No, sellers did. That was seller advertising.
Oh,
Buyers don't go look for agents. They go to where they're looking for houses. Where do buyers go for? Do you ever hear 72 talk about their internet traffic?
no,
Because they don't have any.
they have to see homes first.
They're trying. Okay, they're going there because the market's changing. I'm just talking about when they first came out, they didn't have seen
Yeah, it
homes.
was just seller market.
Just seller, but when you see a TV ad, people think, oh, you market my house a lot. Well, the buyers aren't on watching TV to be like, I want to, what buyer has said to you, I'm gonna go watch TV to find my house? What buyer said, I'm gonna go to the newspaper to find my house? I'm gonna go to a magazine to, I mean, there's coffee table magazines at rich people's houses and at doctor's offices. And so I guess, but no, now people are gonna go like this. Zillow, realtor.com, right? Like, so now I talk about those things when I talk about, open houses. I was just more of, we do everything. Like, if our house is for sale and somebody's kind of looking, they're not gonna miss your house. And it's just, that's what the marketing is, Jeff, is just kind of, we're the best at everything. And just if you ever read the Evernote, you've seen it, Jenny attaches it every time. It's got to get updated, but that's what that was for. And then Jeff, in the videos, we made those videos come to life. So to I was trying to explain the marketing in the videos. When the seller's interested, they go on their fucking phone. They don't go to a fucking magazine, is what I said to them, right? Like, don't be so dumb, right? Like, you go to Zillow. Well, where's your advertising on Zillow? Well, you get it, right? Walt Danley has one review on Zillow at the time, and I have 19, and they're like, well, he's better. Well, huh? Yeah. I know I was being condescending, but I can't help it sometimes, especially when I talk about competitors. Fuck them. Well, they lie. It's just hard. I know that the world of real estate, not the people on the CBAC team, but our competitors. I mean, that chart to me is proof in the pudding. How can list prices from November to February go up when? I'll show you the latest price chart because I was going to do that. Did I show it to you or not? No. And then we'll get out of here. So this is. Do you guys want to see average price per square foot or average sales price?
Sales price.
Okay, cool. All right. So it went sideways. Now, see how that little nook on the end there? Right there. The low point was, technically, we have, this is an active running count, meaning this chart says monthly average sales price. The low was 522,880 in December. January ticked up a smidge from 522 to 525, and now we're flat. And I actually think it's going to go down. But the reason why is January has more luxury homes sell than most, meaning Lisa Lucky's best month always, when I was tracking her sales, was always January. I'm like, I fucking hate her. Right? She's like 8 million in January. I'm like, I fucking hate you. Like, who does 8 million in January? That's my worst month. Because she primarily sells empty nesters homes, and that's when what it is they go home for the holiday or whatever, and then they want to stay. What it is people want to buy and stay for the rest of the season because they're like, wow, it's nice here. But I do believe we're going to continue down. I mean, there's no reason looking at that chart, right? Eileen, when you look at the chart, would you say prices have gone up or down?
Down.
Yeah, like how you're saying that during that same time, we should be raising, like, I mean, if you look at it, what's even funnier is the gap between close price and list price is getting bigger, not smaller. Huh? Like, when you look at this, I'll give you one more just because I love this shit. I'm sorry. But this is always the one that boggled my mind, the snapshot. So you can see monthly sales, 269, monthly active, 346. See that? It's can you see that or no? Is it too blurry?
It's too blurry.
Yeah. So on there, 346 is the average list price. 346 per square foot. We'll call it 350. The average sales price was 270.
It kind of makes sense though.
No, it doesn't. Hold on. Think about that. That's so 270. That's 30% higher. Why is that?
Because the past 2 years, sellers were getting way more for their property. So you have these sellers that still believe it's taking them a while.
Yeah, you mean the luxury agents can't convince them and they'd rather just list the house? Yes, you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, they see what it is people don't want to debate price. They most of the time when they go to a listing appointment, they're like, I think 10 million. What do you think? Well, 9 million. Okay, cool. We'll go with your number, right? Like, and it's worth 7.
Yeah.
Like, that's why the whole, like Kenny Claus's pitch, they wouldn't even talk about price before they signed an offer. Like, that was a Tom Ferry taught tactic for a while is don't make the listing appointment about price. The market's going to be the market. I don't know. What does it matter? No, but really, it's not like we get top price. Like, you can be like, because sometimes when the people are being difficult like that, I'll be like, well, let's just choose on what I'm going to do for you instead of talking about price then. Because clearly you're I mean, no matter what agent they list with, the house is going to sell within 2% of its real value. So really the agents are worth 2 to 3% at the most versus each other, I mean.
So they didn't talk price?
What's that?
They didn't talk price? They just
For a
signed
while.
an agreement?
That's Jennifer Wayner's go-to.
Really?
Yeah. She goes in and she's just like, nobody knows. She plays the other card. Nobody knows what your house is going to sell for. You think these agents know? Nobody knows. It's only between the buyer and the seller. I'll listen to whatever you want. I'm the best, is what she says, at getting you top dollar. Like, I sold 200 million. What do you think? I'm bad at my job? So you can do that, Eileen. Right? Like, you just have to see, we make it about price. And I think you will lose a lot if you don't talk about price. You have to know when you don't want to talk about price and know when you do want to talk about price. Because when they're talking, the point of it is when they're talking, when you know they're talking about meeting with 3 to 5 people when you're in that competitive situation, numbers get thrown out all, like the seller's confused. So if I walk in, I'm like, how many people you meet with? They're like, well, we met with 3, we're gonna meet with 1 more tomorrow, and today we're meeting with you. What do you think it's worth? And I'm like, if you're talking to 5 people, like, you're gonna have this range of prices, and then you're gonna believe which one more than the other. Like, the market value we're really talking about is really like their house 10 years ago, the range was 5%, but now because of Zillow and online, that's why there's fear that realtors will go away. It won't, because people are too difficult. Was that helpful, Eileen?
Yes.
Do you want to ask more questions?
I think I'm good right now.
Okay, Kim,
So-
Sal, go ahead,
What-
Jeff.
You said the one question, sometimes you should know when to talk a price and when not to talk about price.
Meaning your competition level, Jeff. When
Okay.
you get referred into a deal and it's your friend, you're just trying to curve their mindset so that they, like, my thing is really comes from a educational standpoint. I love education and I love to educate. And I think that education is what will cure the world. I forgot where I started. Jeff, say your thing again.
When to talk about price, when not to talk
Yeah.
price. And you said if you had
Meaning,
friends. Yeah.
meaning when it's a referred in deal, I'm just trying to help shape their mind of what the reality of the number is. That's all. Like, most of the time, and when we were fixing up houses, I was just trying to help them move the number. Because I used to, when I presented the number, they would look at me like this. There you go. Sorry. Because when you pay attention to the seller and you talk to them, they're like, right? And I knew I was losing, so that's when I would talk to them about it. Does that make sense, Jeff? Everybody wants let me say it this way.
So when you have lots of competition, you don't talk about price as much as what you're saying with like Jennifer Wilmer?
No, I at that point, it's more about selling than price. So I default to sales. I was more of, when there's a lot of people talking about price, I educate them on the reality so they know that I'm an expert. Because of what they're doing is they're incentivizing the people to come in higher by asking what it's going to sell for, right? Yeah.
Something that I noticed in your appointments too, you'll, before you even talk price, you'll ask them, do you have a number in mind? And then you kind of adjust your range.
Yes, right. I mean, the thing is I guess the way I think of it is what number do you want to list it at? Is what I want to try and get from. What number do you want to sell it for? And then if I learn that the number that you think it's worth is higher or lower, I just want to start to educate them on why that doesn't. And that's where, because what happened, Jeff, is that's when I started to offer the fix up. And I'm like, I know you don't like my numbers here, but I'm being honest with you. And they'd be like, I believe you, but I'm going to go with her. She's 75 more. And I'm like, if you want 75 more, that's when I would start pulling up the pictures and I'd be like, does your kitchen look like that? Like, I'm sorry, but the buyer can see that kitchen from fucking Fry's over there and they're not going to come. You think that they want to come spend 75, and usually I could get as long as I had the husband and the wife, I could have that conversation because the husband would agree with me because he could see more logically. I mean, I just had one with Eric Tooten's wife, and he's an Asian on the team, and she didn't want a lower price. It just, people love their house and they want it to be worth more. I mean, people love their house and they want it to be worth more. People love their house and want it to be worth more. And I'm just trying to have an honest conversation about the realities of that.
And then you got me able to reduce by 100K, we got an offer.
Right, and it didn't come together, but that's because it's a tough market. She's gonna have to go lower and she doesn't even know it. I wanted them to list at 2.9 and they went at 3.2. Normal, right? Like. That's why she talked to one of their friends and they said they should list it at 3.5, 3.7. Not in the fucking ballpark. The weird thing about luxury buyers is sometimes when they see it at 3.7 and it's there for a long time, and then you drop 200, they're like, well, it must be worth it because I have to go see it, right? Like that's the fucked up thing about it. All right. That's enough for one day. Thank you.